talk down to me, baby, I'm drowning.
So YBN Cordae's new project, The Lost Boy, just came out last Friday. And after a couple listens, I think I'm ready to give some quick thoughts on the project and what it did for me. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with YBN and the whole crew, go look it up. But Cordae is one of the few, in my opinion, highlights of the group. If you've ever side-eyed YBN and their antics, YBN Cordae has always kind of been to himself on the side, a little bit more reserved as an artist in my opinion. But you also might know him from responding to J. Cole's 1985 track, and Cordae, with that track, not only solidified himself as a decent rapper coming up in the game that also had an appreciation for older style hip-hop but heavily embraced the new generation at the same time without insulting them. He had a couple good songs of his own already popping off. Kung Fu, he later released Have Mercy, so these are tracks to me that were entertaining enough lyrically that I thought he wouldn't really probably have an issue putting together a full tape or an album. Tie that into the fact that he got my #1 spot for the Cyphers of 2019 on XXL. And I walked into this project knowing that he would have a base level of entertainment lyrically. The most ironic thing about this album to me, in my opinion, and his little back and forth with J. Cole a year ago, was that on this project he kind of reminds me a lot of the older J. Cole. Whether it's their lyrics, whether it's the production styles they choose. That's not saying that this album is bad because of that, it's just something I took note of. And I gotta tell you, this Lost Boy album, I don't really know how to receive it. Because on the one hand, there's a lot that I like about it. I like that YBN is introspective. I like that he gets personal. I like the theme of this project being kind of a homage to his grandmother, this feeling of being lost, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do. I'd had a lot of sympathy for him during this project because he mentions his grandmother as a central glue that was keeping himself, I guess, centered in a way. And losing her, I guess, at a young age probably had him going to other things like drugs that he mentions multiple times in this album, having conflict with his family, having detachment issues. And that overall can lead you to not knowing what to value in the world. So it seems as if the loss of his grandmother had him feeling a loss of direction, a loss of identity, and a lack of what to value. Which is why this album doesn't really appear as if it's an introduction into YBN Cordae. It feels more redeeming than anything, and you'd feel like that's a little awkward going into an artist's first album where we don't really already know that much about him. But I think he illustrates the narrative of this project healthily enough that by the time that you get to the end, you can see what he came from. Not only does this album have a strong sense of pain from loss, it has a strong sense of trying to locate an identity, and it also has a strong sense of striving for something. But all that's still wrapped up in a theme where the end is pretty redeeming. I think that's still pretty great. I like how the first skit that we get on this project is a very nicely sung beg for forgiveness of this same kind of idea that Have Mercy, which was released a long time ago, was. Tracks like Thanksgiving kind of leave you with the interpretation that he's trying to rekindle something with his family and look forward to a brighter future, a brighter tomorrow. Though I do like Bad Idea with Chance the Rapper, and I do like Chance's verse, I can't help but feel like YBN is kind of lacking when it comes to the descriptive bars here. Though I do still enjoy how it goes with this kind of directionless theme of the album so far, and him not really having a home to go to. RMP couldn't have featured a better artist. Anderson .Paak absolutely kills his feature. YBN Cordae's delivery on this track is pretty good. Their lyrics discuss real rich nigga problems, and the whole track also reminds me of some Nate Dogg. Easily some shit that I would have pictured Dr. Dre possibly making for Eminem and Nate Dogg a long time ago. So it's really no surprise that I found that J. Cole was the one that produced this track, given that he used to be a huge fan of people like Dre, Eminem, and I would assume Nate Dogg. This track just has a really nice, consistent bounce to it. Oh my god, is this track fantastic! Broke as Fuck kind of details the loss and the trauma he went through when his cousin was killed, when his grandmother died, when his brother got locked up. Things that kind of led him to the motivation to go down this path. And the track is also pretty redeeming when we get the instrumental change, because he's reminiscing over the things that he didn't have when he was younger, but also kind of recounting everything that he's got right now. A track that goes from the past to the present. Nightmares Are Real is probably the first instance of the chorus singing that reminds me of something that older J. Cole would have done. But again, this track is fantastic, from these really haunting, really yelping vocals in the background to Pusha T's very dominant, very experienced, veteran-like verse. And on this track, Cordae also illustrates how it feels kind of like he was saying that his mother kicking him out was the best thing that could have happened for him. He said he felt fantastic after he was kicked out, meaning that maybe that was the kickstart that got him to detest the old lifestyle that he had. Maybe he was at that time living a nightmare and that little push helped him to get out of it.
Before I took a kilo and I wrapped it around the funeral with the casket. Yeah, coke avalanche like a landslide.
I also really enjoy the track with Meek Mill. Again, I think YBN Cordae on this track is underwriting. Even though the verse sounds like Meek ugly crying, it sounds fantastic. I think the best example of this project when it comes to writing is Family Matters, when YBN Cordae goes over everything that's causing his family pain and also his own detachment issues and this guilt. People vocals in the background transitioning into drums I think is fantastic. It perfectly paints the picture for this track. This track actually heavily details his detachment issues because it seems as though he's speaking about his family in very bird's eye point of view perspectives. But again, the writing here can just be so fucking straightforward. It's like when we're rhyming shit with shit, I think we need to go back to the drawing board a little bit. My main point with this project is I think there's so much to enjoy with this album. And it's really hard to go so hard it being his first project. We have to keep in mind this is the first thing that he's coming out with. And for it to be of this quality, in my opinion, is still a good sign for what's to come later. Some of the people I feel he's emulating, especially strongly, like Chance the Rapper and J. Cole, almost like a fusion of the two. It strikes me in a bit more of a healthy way, because when we get a project that's this refined so soon, it means we're probably gonna get something better later on. I know I did mention on Twitter that this guy reminds me somewhat of a J. Cole, but with slightly less depth. And I still stick to that, but I will give him a bit more credit than that and extend an olive branch and say that I need to compare him to the J. Cole that was making bars similar to this only like 5 years ago. He's at least making music at that level or better, and J. Cole was about 30 years old when he was making music like that. And Cordae's only 21. YBN right now strikes me as a good rapper, but not a great rapper. He's not a bad rapper, he's around the middle when it comes to the bars. The production on this album, it's good. Not great, not bad. Though it does still seem that YBN has a stronger control over most of it, it just being okay. And like I said, the themes here are pretty endearing, they're pretty inspirational and motivational, despite me already having heard them years and years ago by other artists in the game right now. Cordae with The Lost Boy doesn't really feel lost. He feels pretty at home and comfortable over these songs. My main issues with this project just being the lack of overall surprising nature of the production, the lack of surprising narrative in this album, how despite him being a good rapper, how simple the writing can be a lot of times. All I think he needs to do to make a really great album is to refine himself, and that would be him making some more surprising, more adventurous production, maybe having a less predictable delivery, having some more varied flows, and having some better writing. But what he's working with right now is not a bad place to start at all. And that's how I'm feeling about YBN Cordae, The Lost Boy. Not bad, not amazing, but it's pretty good. And that's how I'm feeling on it. Y'all let me know how you feel about it in the comment section down below. Interested to hear your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one. I mean, I say all this, but I gotta appreciate him because he's no NF. Thank God.